Guys, welcome. This is the first night of Community Week here at Big Sky. That's exciting. Did everybody scan for the raffle? That's a thing.
There's a little thing that you scan on the way in, and there's
QR
one in
code?
the back of the room that's under Vote Big Sky. So do it because it has a bunch of local coupons.
Please make sure you do. You're not going to offend us if you get up and go scan it right now while we're talking. Not rude.
There's not one for Blindside Burger. I just tried.
So this is called Vote Big Sky, and we're going to meet some candidates tonight. We're going to go through some races. Thank you all for being here. Fantastic. This is both Gallatin and Madison counties that are being represented, so good work. Yeah.
Thanks for coming. We are Joe and Michelle. We are the hosts of the Hoary Marmot podcast for Explore Big Sky. And we've interviewed a lot of these candidates on our podcast, which has been fun.
I have stickers, see me after.
Joe has stickers always on his person, so if you need a Hoary Marmot sticker to put on a bar fridge somewhere, he's got them for you. And there's important topics tonight, but my son, my 11-year-old, is over here probably stopping whatever game he's playing, and he's gonna be our 3-minute timekeeper. So let's try and keep it within that window, just so we're not here till late.
Some thank yous are in order. Big Sky Resort Area District and the Chamber of Commerce, thank you both so much for making this possible. Our organizers, Jenny, Tammy, and Liz are running around. I'm not sure exactly where they are right now. Solid work. Putting this all together. Oh, there's Tammy in the back. Is here. The Wilson, thank you very much. And thank you so much to the candidates who have joined us during this very busy electoral season. We're very close to the finish line, and yet they found time to be here.
Taking a break from ringing doorbells.
And of course to you guys for participating in the electoral process. Pat yourselves on the back.
Civil War.
Civil discourse, I think is what I was going to say. I don't know that that would have made any sense at all. Voting, of course, will take place November 5th. We've been hearing that. It's beaten over your head at this point. And this is a QR code that you can scan and check your voter status. So you can do it right now. You can do it, take a picture of it, do it later. I mean, it's a good thing to do.
Yes. Okay, so there are some clear ground rules that I'm going to lay out because I am not the rules person. I actually tripped and spilled all my food on the podium while Joe was trying to prepare.
Still smells like hummus.
That's the dichotomy that we're introducing to you this evening. So our answers will be limited, as I said, to 3 minutes. And you candidates up here, you can see the countdown timer that Wallace will be holding. Questions were written by the moderators and provided in advance to all of the candidates. So we don't have any sneaky questions that we're throwing in there. And we'll go in speaking order.
Speaking order has been determined by AI.
Random.
I let AI take charge of that one.
Didn't AI like tell people to drink nothing but Mountain Dew?
Don't worry about that right now. AI has never led us astray. Will not start.
A little bit. Okay, and there's no Q&A portion just because we can't be here till all of us can't be here till super late because we probably all work millions of jobs. If you have any questions, please find the candidates afterwards and ask them directly. Right, candidates? You guys?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, ask them directly. Feel free to take photos or videos. This is one of those concerts where you can do it. We're not going to get on to you, you know? And this event is being live streamed. And the video link will be available for people to watch later. And I just ate a smash burger, like, in record time, like, food eating competition fast. So
Joey Chestnut.
there may be me passing out live stream mid conversation.
It's very possible.
It can happen.
Let's talk about the ballot. All of the candidates for these various fields were invited to participate tonight. Nobody's playing favorites here. We were just fortunate to have the candidates show up who were able to make time. But it's not like anyone was intentionally excluded. It's important for you to know.
Your mother.
What? We've talked about some of these election dates, and here are your polling places locally. We'll go through a couple of all of the different offices that you'll see on the ballot, starting at the very top. President, Vice President. And then we'll just keep going. U.S. Senate, U.S. House of Representatives, and then Montana Attorney General. I'm not going to say all the names, I'm sorry if that disappoints you. Montana Clerk of the Supreme Court candidates, Montana Governor, Lieutenant Governor, and then Montana Secretary of State, Montana State Auditor, seems important, need to be audited, Montana State Superintendent of Public Instruction, so many words, Montana Public Service Commissioner, District 30, Montana Supreme Court Chief Justice, Supreme Court Justice number 3, and State District 30, Montana House of Reps, District 60, and now we're getting into Court Judge District 18, Department 1. This is not an interminable list. Department 3, District 5, Department 1, just so you're not confused when you see this on your ballot. Gallatin County Commission
Did you put this together?
for Commissioner. Jenny made this whole slideshow, it's great.
It's very long for you to read.
No, it's Madison County Commissioner.
Don't forget, Madison County.
Yeah. And then this is our probably the most opaque, but Local Government Review and Study Commission, we have all voted on the fact that there will be this study, and now we just need to determine who the actual commissioners will be who carry out the study and review. And we'll meet several of them tonight. Gallatin gets 7, and then Madison County gets 3 of those. And here's a list of candidates for Madison County for that study, and then Gallatin has a separate list.
And there it is,
Yep,
just in case you guys were wondering.
that's it. It's a performance review of our government, basically, right?
Yes.
And determining what changes need to be made. And I think that those will be voted on the following cycle. This go around, we elect the studiers, and then they make some findings, determinations, and suggestions, recommendations, and then we vote on those subsequently. What you get tonight will not be enough information. It's a starting point, and so I encourage you to do research on your own after all of this, but it's a good jumping off point. And we're going to start with an exercise in democracy, and if you want to eschew having an intermission tonight, then say yay. Yay. If you want to have an intermission, say nay. The yeas have it. Congratulations. We will not have an intermission.
Keep going. You're sweating. It's fine. Tell me you don't get nervous in front of crowds, but like I feel like this will lie.
Thank you.
You're doing all right. You should have had the milkshake that I had to keep calm. Okay, so Monica Trinnell, as some of you know, wasn't able to come tonight. She can't be here because her mother's recent passing. She's spending time with her family and deeply appreciates your understanding and support. Although she can't be here in person, Monica wanted to thank everyone for engaging in this forum and discussing the critical issues facing our communities. The issues discussed here, particularly Montana's housing crisis, are at the heart, yeah, she's not having a housing crisis, are at the heart of why she is running for Congress. She knows how important it is that all Montanans have a place to call home. Monica was raised with her 9 brothers and sisters on a ranch in eastern Montana where she always had a job to do, feeding pigs, stacking hay, and fixing fences. The strong work ethic Monica learned on the ranch led her to become a world-class rower, competing in 2 Olympics and winning a world championship gold for the United States women's rowing team. She understands the value of hard work and determination, and she believes every Montanan deserves the opportunity to thrive in this state. That's why Monica is running for Congress, to represent the missing middle, the people who feel invisible, whose voices are not heard, and who are not represented in the current political divide. She believes that our country needs to grow the middle class and invest in our communities so that our children can afford to live in this beautiful place called Montana, the only place Monica calls home. Monica's career has been built on standing up for Montanans against powerful interests. She fought corporate monopolies and out-of-state billionaires. God, I feel like you guys have seen these commercials, right? Out-of-state billionaires who try to rip off local businesses and families. She took Northwestern Energy all the way to the state Supreme Court and won, saving ratepayers $10 million. She stopped a New York hedge fund from cheating Montana small businesses and beat back an out-of-state corporation's attempts to steal land from local ranchers. Monica has traveled thousands and thousands of miles across Montana in her minivan and understands the problems facing our state. We interviewed her from her minivan, dropping her kids off from soccer. Monica knows that housing is not just a policy issue, it's a matter of ensuring that Montanans have the chance to build a future here, to raise families, and to support our local communities. Monica's running to put an end to that, and she has a plan to tackle the housing crisis. She's committed to fighting for affordable housing and standing up to corporate interests that want to profit off the backs of everyday Montanans. She will work to create an economic environment where our local and small businesses can thrive and provide good-paying jobs to folks who want to build families here and contribute to our economy year-round. Monica deeply believes in the promise and potential of our state and its people. That's why she's running, to bring Montanans back to the table and to build a future that reflects our shared values. Even though she can't be here tonight, she wants you to know that your voices, your concerns, and your vision for Montana are what fuel her campaign. We need to be working together, finding solutions that lift us all up. Thank you for keeping Monica and her family in your thoughts and prayers tonight, and thank you for being here.
Monica Trammell, U.S. House District 1. All right, now we're going to move on to Secretary of State. Jesse James Mullen has his campaign manager, Kenneth, here to read a statement for you. Kenneth's going to come on up and talk into the microphone.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me? I'm not too close now, too. Okay, perfect. Hi there, like you said, my name is Kenneth Wagner. I am the campaign coordinator and manager for Jesse James Mullen, who's running for Secretary of State. For those of you who don't know who he is, he was born and raised in Wyoming, just across a little bit over the border in the Powder River Basin, and then came over at 20 years old to Montana, working as an editor and a journalist for the Phillipsburg Mails, where he started out. And then from there, he has lived his entire life since then in Deer Lodge as a local reporter, journalist, and a newspaper owner. He owns 12 community rural newspapers throughout Montana. The reason that he's running for this office is because being on the front line as a journalist for the last 20 years in rural Montana, connecting rural Montanans to the rest of the world, and the rest of the world to rural Montana, and making sure their issues are reported on and heard, and the reverse, making sure the world knows, that rural Montana knows about the rest of the world, he has seen the decline in our rural communities. And he's seen specifically the decline that's come from the lack of information. It's been walled off as newspapers have either closed or been bought by private groups or have turned into a paywall where you have to pay $6.99 a month to get to the Wall Street Journal. And that's led to a decline of democracy, because then people don't know the candidates, they don't know who their local commissioners are, who their mayor is, and then suddenly when they get to the ballot box on November the 5th, they're like, I don't know any of these people. I guess I'll just vote blindly. And that has then led to some choices that the voters have made that it wasn't the fault of the voters, but ultimately those individuals don't serve the full interests and needs of the people of Montana. And so what he wants to do is serve the people of Montana, not only as a journalist, because as a journalist, but also because he's a father of 5, 4 daughters and a son. So raising his kids through the Montana public education system, he's also seen over the years of how when his first daughter went in compared to his son right now who's in school, how it's drastically changed. And how over the years reporting on that, especially in our rural communities, how it's had its difficulties trying to get the resources and the funding year over year they need to continue to operate in this changing world, especially through COVID when everything went online. And rural communities had to scramble, some who didn't have access to reliable internet, had to figure out new inventive ways to teach kids and socially distance. And so, most important thing that he wants to do once he gets into the office for Secretary of State is ensure the office is ran in a nonpartisan manner. Even though it is a partisan office, run it in a nonpartisan manner because our elections, because it oversees our elections and oversees our business services. Those are 2 critically important roles that should not have politics deciding whether someone can vote or not vote, whether a certain county's vote gets counted a certain way or not, and whether or not when someone wants to register a business, it doesn't take 12 weeks. And when they're trying to renew their business license at the end of the year, it doesn't take 6, 8, 12 weeks, and they have to spend 6 hours on the phone calling and calling and calling and saying, please, I'd like to continue being a business here in Montana, paying taxes and employing Montanans. He himself, who employs over 100 Montanans, he has to spend days at a time on with the Secretary of State's office on the phone trying to get each and every one of his licenses renewed for his 20-plus businesses. And it's a pain. And so that's what he wants to ensure, is that it's run in a nonpartisan, efficient, and effective manner. And that's why I would love to talk to you afterwards more in detail. We'd love you to consider your vote. We have flyers in the back for November the 5th. And thank you so much for your time, and thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Kenneth.
Thank you, Kenneth. And now on to Cora Newman. She is running for State Senate District 30. Can you just bring her up here?
Yeah, come on up.
Monica, yeah, sorry. Cora Newman, come on down. Cora, welcome. Please.
Am I going to sit up here and answer all of these
I
questions?
guess so. I feel like everybody should be
all
sitting
come
up here already, and like
No,
everybody
we
should be up
don't
together.
have enough chairs for that.
Really?
Yeah, but
My friends come up and sit with me?
They want to.
if it makes you more comfortable.
Listen, yeah, if it doesn't make you feel like a lone wolf up there, I think. Okay, so please introduce yourself. I'd like for the final minute or so to be a description of the most memorable or interesting interaction that you've had while campaigning.
Okay. Do you want me to introduce myself first? And then
Sure.
say, and then, okay.
Exactly.
Yes. Okay. Trying to follow directions.
Sorry.
No, that's
You
okay.
got your countdown timer here
Okay.
that Wallace is holding.
Thank you. Okay. My name's Cora Newman, and I'm running for the State Senate District, which covers a lot of South Bozeman all the way down through Big Sky into Gallengate, into West Yellowstone. I was raised in Bozeman by a homemaker and a construction worker. My mom actually was a young widow and moved to Bozeman. My dad had been a logger and was injured and died in a lumber mill accident. And if we had been closer to good care, he may have survived. And so my mom was able to pick us up and bring us to Bozeman. So I wasn't born in Bozeman, but I've been here since I was an infant. And she was able to raise us in Bozeman, which was just truly a heavenly place to grow up in. Based on my own family's loss and the challenges we had with losing my dad, I decided to dedicate my life to rural and tribal healthcare. And so I have a doctorate in public health, and I work with rural and tribal communities. I've also worked some on migration issues, and I currently serve as the Chief Community Health Officer of the Native American Development Corporation, so working with tribal communities, urban Indian health centers, and rural health centers across the state. And the challenges that Native American communities face are very similar to the challenges that very rural communities across the state face. So I am running to ensure that the growth in Montana benefits Montanans. I have a 19 and 20-year-old, and at my son's recent high school graduation, the student speaker stood up and said, "Hey everybody, enjoy your summer here in Bozeman because it may be the last time you get to live here." That's what our teenagers are thinking about and facing down in Montana. And so I really am just committed to making sure across the board, across all the sectors and I've been really impressed with how Big Sky, the work that you're doing here is hiring and employing local Montana businesses, et cetera. We can get more into that later, but I'm committed to making sure that the growth here benefits all of us. One of the most interesting things I have found on the trail is that I have found that I'm hearing a lot from, I don't like to categorize Democrats and Republicans. I think historically, also growing up here, we weren't this polarized. But I do hear a lot from those who are maybe following Republican-leaning news, how nationalized things become. And one of the things I want to, the conversation ends up around national issues, not what's happening to our neighbors. And one of the things I have realized working with leaders and communities throughout my career is that really corrupt leaders will try to distract you from what's happening in your neighborhood and in your community. And so pay attention to what people are asking you to pay attention to. If there's distraction from what's happening at your school and at your hospital and with your local community, then that's something to maybe think a little bit deeper about. And so I try my best to always steer the conversation back to what's happening right here, right now, and what can we do for our communities.
Thank you so much, Cora.
Did it?
Right on the number. Perfect. You mentioned that one of your primary areas of expertise is healthcare. What weaknesses have you identified in Montana's healthcare system, and what is your plan to address them?
Yes, thank you. Well, I'm actually really proud of the Montana healthcare system and infrastructure. We worked really hard in a bipartisan way to pass and Medicaid expansion in Montana. And we are one of the very rural states that has accepted Medicaid expansion, and because of that, we haven't lost any rural hospitals. Unfortunately, Medicaid unwinding has just taken place over the last year, and we have seen 134, and I know it's more now, Montanans lose their health care. People who are using Medicaid in this state, and this won't surprise you when you think about cost of living, 60 to 70% of them are working full-time. Some of them are nurses and teachers and people in your community. They need Medicaid. So this is not something that's just it's public benefit, but it is really a benefit for working Montanans and Montanans who are trying to make ends meet. And so it's really, really valuable. Unfortunately, with this unwinding, and it's been really poorly managed, 30% of children on Medicaid expansion have lost their coverage. And so families are foregoing care and getting more sick. And what happens is that costs us more in the end, right? So I'm really proud of the system that we have. One of the strongest of any rural states in America. We haven't lost any rural hospitals. We have critical access hospitals. You guys have a phenomenal hospital here. That's life-saving. Like I shared, my own story. If we had been closer to good care, if we had been in Montana, my dad may have survived. And so we cannot afford to lose rural health care and rural hospitals. And Medicaid actually contributes, in a one-year period, it contributed $475 million to our economy. It produced 7,500 jobs. It reduced extra healthcare costs for rural hospitals by 35%, because when people don't have insurance, they wait until there's an emergency and then they go to the emergency room. And who pays for that, right? We end up paying for it. And so Medicaid expansion is up for renewal in 2025, and I'm really excited that I hope to be in the legislature to help push that through, because actually that's another really bipartisan issue is Medicaid expansion in healthcare. I think that we can build the alliance that we need to make sure that Montanans have access to this healthcare. Working families rely on Medicaid, and we don't want to lose more of our working families. I know Big Sky has struggled with the hollowing out of our communities. I'm from Bozeman. We have the same, right? We are watching our young families leave. I mean, it's heartbreaking, right? We've worked really hard to have wonderful schools and wonderful facilities and to build the heart of our community up. And if they can't afford to live here, then what are we, right? We're supposed to take care of our communities. And I just wanted, it's an education opportunity as well to just say Medicaid is really a cornerstone of our economy.
Thank you. So as a state senator, how would you more effectively represent mountain resort communities like Big Sky?
I have been really, really lucky to learn a ton about Big Sky since I began this campaign. I'm actually, Senator Pat Flowers represented your district before. With redistricting, he's now mainly in Bozeman, like in a more urban area. And I know he's sad to not be representing you anymore, but he is endorsing me, he's a friend, and he's gonna be an amazing mentor for me. So I feel like I'm coming in with a much less steep learning curve because I have his wisdom. What I've learned about Big Sky, again, even though you're my neighbor, I really didn't know that much about Big Sky. It does feel it can feel mysterious and opaque. And what I've realized is how bad that is for Big Sky. You guys need to be understood. I'm learning a ton from Jackie Haynes and some of the other leaders in this room about the fact that Big Sky contributes 3,000 people, right, your town, contributes 5% of the GDP to the state. Like how many teachers and schools, and I mean, just thinking about infrastructure, you are funding across the state. So I'm excited to be an ambassador for you when I'm in Helena. The other thing I'm really excited about is learning about your water treatment. Like it is super cool. And I think that we have droughts, we're seeing it right now, the weather is chaotic now. And so I have, I'd love to bring you all up to Helena to talk about what you've done with your water treatment. We could use it for agriculture. We could use it in really dry parts of our state or in times of drought. And so I know it's not that easy, but I do feel like it would be incredible if this homegrown solution from Big Sky could help maintain our state and the infrastructure and manage drought, et cetera. So that's one of the things. And then I also just feel like as somebody who works in public health and in emergency care, making sure that your infrastructure is really strong. I know, again, you're ahead of the curve on monitoring fire, right? I've heard some recent examples where you saw the fire the second it happened and went in to stop it, which is amazing. Again, something we can learn from, but also a reminder of how vulnerable Big Sky is. And so making sure that investments in infrastructure in this town that drives the economy of our state, it's in everyone's best interest to make sure that Big Sky has what it needs. And the other thing, I don't know if I have time for it, but just working in healthcare, one of the things I also I've met with the sheriff's office and thinking about first responders, like we do have a challenge with fentanyl and drug overdose. I work with Native American communities, rural communities. We're seeing syphilis in this state, which we haven't seen in a century, that comes through the channel of drug trafficking. So it's a big topic, but I just want to make sure first responders, the sheriff's office, and all of those that are at the front lines of taking care of your community have the support they need, because we need them.
Outstanding. Thank you very much. Cora Newman, State Senate District 30. And let's stay with State Congress, State House District 60, and I'll let you guys work out who goes first.
Would you want to do like that before?
Yeah, for sure. But in terms of starting out, it's the same, sort of like bio question that we had for Cora. Please introduce yourself. And I would like for the final minute of that introduction to be a description of the most memorable or interesting interaction you had while campaigning.
Okay, well, I'm Jerry Johnson, and I'm from West Yellowstone, Montana, not Idaho or Wyoming. We have a 10-mile border and a 1.8-mile border away from our town. That's a common question. That better? Thank you. I'm not used to microphones. I'm used to just coaching and being loud. I was born in Glasgow, Montana, grew up in West Yellowstone, went to school at Bozeman, went to school at West Yellowstone, and then went back to West Yellowstone after graduating from Montana State and helped with our family businesses and became a very business community member. I was on the West Yellowstone City Council for approximately 24 years, and I was the mayor for about 11 of those. Any of you folks that don't know about our charter, it's kind of unique. The mayor is not elected. The mayor is appointed by the council on a yearly basis. So it can get dicey, but if you have a good council, you work your way through it, and people do it more than 1 year, and then they have a little history. Search and rescue I was on since I've been 18, and I'm part of the TBID, if you've heard about that. I'm a board member of TBID. I was too young to say that I was there to help with the initial resort tax approval by the state legislature when West Yellowstone went up there and fought for it, but I was involved in getting the next 1%. And I will tell you guys that when we first went for the 1%, I was not in favor of signing on with Big Sky because I didn't feel like you guys had the right idea. It took us another session, but we got it, so it doesn't matter. That doesn't matter now. You can't look backwards. We were successful. I'm raising my family in West Yellowstone. Now I'm helping raise my grandkids. And my main goal is just how to make West Yellowstone, Big Sky, and Gallatin Gateway, and Cottonwood one of the best places to live possible. And that's what I've always done. I've worked across the table, across the aisle for years. Anything that I tell you that I was successful at, I did not do it by myself. I did it with the help and the consensus of others. And so that is my story.
Outstanding. Thank you.
Thank you, and now to you, Alana.
Thank you, everyone. And I want to thank you guys for doing this, and I want to thank the Wilson Hotel for having us, and obviously the Chamber for having Community Week. I think it's pretty incredible for us in Big Sky. I'm Alana Griffith. I live here in Big Sky. I was born in Big Sky, fun story, but I was raised down in Four Corners, and I was lucky enough to graduate from Bozeman High, go off to law school, come back, and I've been a practicing attorney in Gallatin County for the last 20 plus years. Moved back to Big Sky about 8 years ago, but what really focused me is, I'm looking out here, and I see a lot of faces where we all give back to the community. It's like that on the soccer lines, the baseball team, anyone else. I look down, I see 4 or 5 people, or everyone, doing 4 or 5 things for our community, not just one. And my parents raised me that same way. My dad was chairman of the Montfort School Board for 30 years. My mother was involved with Eagle Mount for 20 years, 10 as the executive director. And I'm on the board of Morningstar. And I also coach the mock trial team for the high school down there. And my son, Calder, is part of that. Right now, he is playing soccer. I'm hoping someone, maybe Brad is streaming that, because he's going in goal and I'm gonna miss it. But that's a big part of our community, is our school, the people here, and just making it so that our kids can come back. And that's essential. That's why I ran. And I was looking at Calder, and I don't know if he's going to be able to bring his kids back to hunt and fish like he's doing. I don't know if he's going to be able to afford a home and be able to sit on the sidelines like I do up in Big Sky and watch soccer. And I think that's what motivates a lot of us to do what we do in this community. We want our kids to be able to come back here. So like most parents in this room and everyone else, I thought, what can I do? What skills do I bring to the table that are unique that can help Big Sky? Well, I'm a contract attorney. I go through massive amounts of data every day, and I meet with diverse people who, let's put it nicely, dislike each other. And I draft basically legislation every single day to protect property values and to protect our way of life. So what better could I do than throw my hat in the ring? And that's what I've been doing, is I've been knocking doors, thousands of doors. My team has sent out handwritten postcards. I've sent out a letter with my personal phone number on it so that people can talk to me, thousands of letters, because I want to listen. And I think that's one thing that's missing from Montana in the legislature. So my one, Abe Wallace, dude. So this is a really personal story about doors. I was knocking doors down, and I won't say whose or where, but it was a condo here in Big Sky. And a guy was sitting there, we got to talking like we would, lots of people do. And he's like, do you do wills? I'm like, yeah, I do wills. I mean, for local people. And he's like, yeah, well, I need a will because I don't have any heirs. My sister doesn't have any heirs. I'm like, okay, well, where do you want your condo to go? I wanted to go to Big Sky School District. So we just last week signed his will. I called Dustin, made sure that was kosher, and he said, oh yeah, I'll take that. So we made that happen, because that's who Big Sky is. And that's what I want our state legislature to understand. We're not rich, we're people doing what we can to help the community.
Thank you.
Very cool.
At some point I want to take over the timer. He's doing great, but he's going to get tired. He's 11. Okay, so whichever one of you guys choose to go first, how do you view the growth and development of our area, and how does that view chart your course for your first term in office?
Well, obviously I work a lot in development. I work with the Big Sky Housing Trust. What was funny though when I heard that question is I thought to myself back in high school in the 90s in Bozeman, and that same question was being asked. And one of the things that Big Sky has that I think almost nowhere else in the country is we're last. Vale's been developed, Breckenridge has been developed. We can learn from what they've done, and I think we are. We have that amazing project that just got its zoning map amendment done. And what we're doing is we as a community have said we want to ensure that unlike other areas, that we have a local area. We have a place where community can live and work and play, somewhere where locals can afford it. And so we're taking that and we are applying it to Big Sky in a way that hopefully we will always see a community that can live here, that our kids can come back here and afford the homes that we're creating. If you read NPR, you'll see that that is exactly what, I can't remember if it's a town in Maryland or Massachusetts is doing. The reality is federal dollars are not going to be paying for public assistance. We as a state, we as a county, and we as a community have to look at that, to look at development and how do we do it ourselves so people can afford it, because we did a great job since the 80s. In the 80s, there was a depression and Dad was hunting and Mom was gardening for a reason, because that's how we fed ourselves. So we turned to tourism and we have our bed tax and we did an excellent job. But now we're dealing with the effects of having the tourists here, of having the tourism. So now we have to shift and figure out what to do. On a very particular note, one thing I've been looking at, and I've talked with Brad and some others, is the bed tax. We all saw the economic report come out. We all saw that we're funding a massive amount of the bed tax that advertises Montana. And while Colorado tried to just do away with all of its state advertising, and it was a horrible thing that they did, I think that we need to have some conversations about getting some of the money back into local hands so that we can offset BizRat taking care of all the infrastructure and maybe see some of the bed tax come back and do that for us. So that's a conversation I want to have. I want to explore it more. And, I could talk about this all night. So there you go.
Thank you, Alana.
Same question?
Same question. Sorry. I thought you'd remember it from the first
I
time you asked it.
have it written right here, so.
No, it's fine.
Good.
She should ask again so we all.
Sorry, yes. Jerry, how do you view the growth and development of our area, and how does that view chart your course for your first term in office?
So, growing up in this area, before Alana, I hate to even admit that. I've said this a number of times, you guys have heard me say this, but I used to ski Big Sky when people knew where Chet Huntley's house was and who he was. And so I watched Big Sky grow, and I've watched West Yellowstone grow, and now we're watching Gallatin Gateway get sucked in to the growth thing. We all thought we were just nice little sleepy towns and that we were going to cruise through this. Well, guess what? It all caught up with us, and as most government is, we have to be reactive before we can be proactive, and that's unfortunate. My goal going to Helena is to get back to being proactive, to finding out what Big Sky wants in the future, what they want Big Sky to look like, what West Yellowstone wants West Yellowstone to look like, and Gallatin Gateway and Cottonwood all the same. And you do that by getting out and talking to people and having connections and being involved in the committees and all the different meetings and whatnot that I have been involved in most of my adult life. So I have numerous connections that I can lean on to try to build our communities into what we want them to be. And we want them to be communities. We are based on tourism now. We were a logging town, and when the lumber mill moved away, well, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? Well, we started talking to the National Park Service, and we started running snowmobiles in there. So we're all ingenuitive. We all have good ideas, and we can all make anything we want to do work. Now that bit me in the behind when we were talking about transportation in the winter in Yellowstone, when I said on ABC TV that no matter what happens, West Yellowstone will be fine. They took that completely wrong, as they do, and twisted it into, oh, let's shut it down. It's all good. That wasn't good for anybody. But I've watched Big Sky go from just a winter community, and then West Yellowstone was the summer community, and now I survive personally off people that get their middle day off and come down to West Yellowstone and go into the park in the winter, or you guys have made all the different events for tourists. We've built all this up for the tourists, and where we haven't been proactive is for the citizens, the people that live here, the people that do the work. the people that take care of the folks that we're inviting here. And we have to supply our community with what they need. Yeah, you guys have a wonderful hospital. I'm happy to say that I was involved in that, and it really helped West Yellowstone, and it also hurt West Yellowstone, because that meant that the rural healthcare circle, the dynamic, West Yellowstone fell into Big Sky's dynamic. So we fell out of the rural healthcare picture at the time. We're working hard to try to make it work for us by being partners with the larger hospital corporations. But anyway,
All right, and it's time.
that was it.
Joe's about to shut off your mic.
We got you 3 minutes there.
You can
I
shave
know,
off some
time
time.
flies, and a lot to
You
say.
shortened that, didn't you?
I got another question for you, Jerry. It's all
Okay.
right. We'll start with Alana, though. Alana, you're eager to bring your litigator skills to Helena. How would communities like your home here in Big Sky benefit from legislation that is more legally sound?
Oh, dear. Another one I could go on forever. Look, first of all, the legislature needs everyone. But what you don't have right now are attorneys. For whatever reason, out of 150 people up there, there are only 5 Montana licensed attorneys. That's it. And I think only 1 is in the House, and she's moving to the Senate. So they don't have attorneys up there. And we do bring a skill. You know I litigate, but that doesn't mean I just go in and fight and advocate for my client, which I will be doing for you. That means every day I go through maybe 3,000 pages of information. Today I wrote 20 pages on an appeal brief to the Montana Supreme Court while researching thousands of pages of statutes and case law in order to make my argument to the Supreme Court. There is a book by a Harvard graduate who talks about law school and how basically it just retrains your brain. That's what we do. My brain has been retrained to do exactly what legislators have to do, and that's know every single aspect of Montana code, understand how to change it to effectuate exactly what you're trying to do, and then understand from word choices the ramifications of changing those words throughout Montana code. So, for example, if you come up to me with a question about how can we do this, how can we become, let's say the report comes back, we should become a municipality, but for these 3 issues. Say one of them is our liquor laws. Well, I know how to rewrite that pretty quickly and efficiently. I also know how to negotiate. I know how to mediate. And I know how to make people hopefully understand what the Big Sky community is. And it's not, again, a lot of rich people, it's all of us here. Just trying to do the best that we can every day to make our community wonderful. And so that's what I think any litigator would bring to the state. In particular, though, my litigation is contract law. It's kind of the nerdy side of law, right? We're not the cool litigators who do malpractice or, medical, we don't chase ambulances. We read a lot. We write a lot, and we are the workhorses of the attorney world. We're boring. Actually, HOA meetings are not boring. You should come to one. They're actually fantastic. But that's another thing I bring, is I walk into the worst situations. People hating each other about gosh knows what, the black lab that pooped in the yard, but we can all walk out together. And that's what I hope to bring to the Montana legislature, is that time when I grew up, we were a purple state, and we had people who were in the middle, who talked to each other and worked across the aisle. And I think we can get back there. I do, but it's gonna take one person at a time reaching out. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And then, all right, here we go, Jerry.
Here we go.
What lessons did you learn as mayor of West Yellowstone that will help you represent smaller communities like Big Sky and West Yellowstone?
Well, to start with, I've done numerous union negotiations. I've helped to come up with over 24 balanced budgets in West Yellowstone. And any of you that have ever been involved in government accounting, it is nothing like business accounting. It's a whole different show. So in my world, I had to do our businesses, and then I'd go to the city and do a different sort of accounting. But we didn't do a balanced budget because we wanted to. We did a balanced budget because it's the law. You have to have a balanced budget. And so we did it. We made cuts, we made additions, we made tough decisions, we made easy decisions. But I know how to do a budget, and I know how to negotiate. I know how to work with unions. We have 3 different unions in West Yellowstone in the town itself. And I'm proud to say my last union negotiation, I was successful in 2 days. It took me 2 days to close all the union negotiations. I knew what they wanted, I knew what the council could and the town could afford, and we did it. We did it in a heartbeat. What else do I bring to the table? West Yellowstone is surrounded on all sides by either federal, state, or county lands. We do nothing but work with our neighbors. We work with the Department of Agriculture. We work with the Department of the Interior. We work with the county. Right now, I wasn't a part of it, but we've done it numerous times. Our police force is suffering. So we sign a contract with Gallatin County so they help protect us. You have to work with everybody around you to get this stuff done. Worked with the Department of the Interior to help us maintain winter use in Yellowstone National Park so many visitors can still see it in the winter. Worked with the Department of Agriculture. I know it's a hot topic federally now. Someone out there said we're going to take federal land and provide it for housing, and there's a lot of people freaking out about that. That's what we did in West Yellowstone. We did it twice. We bought land from the Department of Agriculture. We bought it from the Forest Service. And now we have land for housing. And also in West Yellowstone, it seems like because we're surrounded by all these larger groups, everything that happens in West, whether it's the bison or the introduction of wolves or winter use, we are in the limelight. We're right in the middle of it. I have sat in the table of 3 in front of the congressional hearing and gotten grilled by those folks. I understand what it's like to go to the state and the federal levels and learn how to negotiate and talk across the table with them.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. All right, and you guys can all go back to their seats, right? Get out of here. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna get a chair. I'm gonna get a chair and bring it up here. Joe is just horrified at my behavior right now, guys.
Seems gauche.
Seems gauche. Look at this, y'all. Oh, dude, Flavian down there. Okay. Next, we have Duke Gilman for Madison County Commission. Duke, come on up. You know, take a seat. Joe, do you like a chair? I can get you one.
Oh, Scott's gonna come up too. Why not?
Yeah. No, I think it's great to have friends. Thanks, Joe.
Yep.
Yeah, this feels super cozy. Okay, so Duke, please introduce yourself. I'd like for the final minute or so to be a description of the most memorable or interesting interaction you've had while campaigning.
My name is Duke Gilman. I am from the Ruby Valley. I live in the old mining town of Ruby with my wife and 2 young boys, 5 and 7. My family came to the Ruby Valley in the 1860s for the Alta Gulch Gold Rush. My great-grandfather made the gold bricks that came off the dredges, and my boys are 6th generation in the house that we live in now. So I have deep roots in the valley. I have mostly worked as a ranch hand on ranches, particularly my cousin's cattle ranch. I worked on a recreational property for many years, and worked for Ted Turner's Bison Ranch in the Upper Ruby for a few years. I've worked for the Ruby Garnet Mine, and I've been the County Sheridan's public maintenance person, so I have a pretty well-rounded work experience in the Ruby Valley. What else? I guess the most interesting thing I have had happen to me is just being here at Big Sky. I had a tour this spring through Danny, and it was eye-opening growing up in the Ruby Valley. it doesn't feel like Big Sky is part of the county, I must be honest. And now I realize how important Big Sky is to the county, particularly financially. And there's actually people that live up here year-round. And so there's a community. And as a Madison County Commissioner, that's going to be an important aspect of my job, is working with Big Sky, I do believe. So you have that.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Let's talk about your public service and education. As an Alder School Board member, you've had an up-close look at the state of education in our area. What are some challenges that you plan to address in this new position of commissioner?
Okay, Alder School is interesting because it's a rural school, and I don't know how many of you from Big Sky are familiar with the Ruby Valley, but Alder School is a very small school. We have 2 teachers, and we have about 10 kids, 2 of which are my boys. And so my experience there is not like being in a larger school. I've actually been on the board for 16 years, I believe, somewhere in there. And we've seen a lot of different issues, but some of the biggest issues that we have faced is certainly childcare. And I think anybody that has kids knows that that is a problem in Montana. And interesting enough, in Alder School, our Madison County Superintendent Pam Berkland suggested that we try a in-house daycare, which we did. And it's worked, and we have 2 wonderful teachers that we did not want to lose, but they both have very, very young children, and they are able to bring their children to the school when they come to work, and those children are taken care of, and they have easy access to them, and that has been wonderful. The other situation with that, though, is that it is really hard to maintain staff for that daycare. That has been a real challenge. And that goes back to housing, which we all know is a big issue in Montana. And a lot of times we can find some staff out of state or something, but we can't find them a place to live. And I don't know how many of you are familiar with taking care of kids, but it's a tough job. And when we were short, I even volunteered myself to see if I could, maybe I could, help a little. And thank God they didn't call me, because they work so hard. I mean, it's crazy. So I do believe childcare is a big issue, and as a county commissioner, that's one of the things I would hope to help resolve in our area. I don't have the answers. I'm hoping that I can work with a lot of smarter people that do. So.
Thank you, Duke. And as a middle school science teacher, I appreciate your offer of almost helping. In your opinion, what are the keys to maintaining Madison County's rural character as it faces unprecedented growth and development?
Yeah, I like the last question. They asked me about playing pickleball originally. I said, well, I've never played pickleball, so I can't, to be honest, I can't really talk about pickleball.
I found his name in an article about pickleball. I thought it was gold, and it turns out he doesn't play pickleball.
And I appreciate the levity that you were trying to bring to it, because that would have worked well. And I should have stuck with it. I should never say anything, because this question just makes me sad, because I have been in the Ruby Valley all my life, and I'm seeing so much change. It is so hard. Because it's I grew up with the rural life and cattle ranch and just really small town and dirt roads and everything that everybody wants to come here for. I had all that growing up, and I get it. And it's tough because a lot of the people moving in that I meet, I really enjoy. And so it's really a tough deal. But I think, at least in the Ruby Valley, maintaining our open spaces is a big deal as far as maintaining some of that rural character. And I see that happening with conservation easements, big ranch, or for the Ruby Valley, large ranches are putting most of their land into conservation easements, which is just wonderful. And I hope if it happens to a few more that I know of. I think just educating people as they move in and making them aware of what we consider rural and what they're moving there for, and that they inadvertently are losing because people keep moving in. I think if they're educated onto how to try to maintain some of that, I think water is going to be a huge issue, and that's the wonderful thing about Big Sky is some of the innovations that are happening up here. I think is going to be a leader to the future of our communities as we go forward. So that's wonderful. I don't know, other than closing the gates on each end of the valleys and letting the cows out, I don't know how to make it more rural.
We got a little extra time. In your mind, what is the most challenging aspect of pickleball to master?
I don't know, because my experience with pickleball is they were fixing the court, and I brought the backhoe, the town's backhoe, and parked it there, and they loaded the bucket with the concrete, and then I just moved it away and dumped it, and I got my name in the paper. That's me in pickleball.
Thank you so much.
Goes
Clap
dead
for
and
Duke.
Google. Thank you so much.
Stay there if you want. Keep Scott company while he answers his questions. We'll move on to Gallatin County Commissioner Scott McFarland here with us. Please introduce yourself, and for the final minute or so, make it about the most interesting interaction you've had during campaigning.
Okay, thanks. I'm used to getting to talk as long as I want. And I have the mic, so having 3 minutes is great so that I can remind myself to be succinct. I'm usually limiting other people's talking time. So I've been your county commissioner for 6 years already. It's a quarter of my adult life, which I've been just ruminating over that as I've been talking to people over the last couple of months about why I want to do it again. But I started out in Havre as with a single mother there. When she died, I was adopted into Colstrip. I lived in Colstrip until I graduated high school, and then came to Bozeman to run, jump, throw, decathlon for the Bobcats. And I always sidestep the question about what did I study in college by just telling people track. It's all the time you have to do when you're a decathlete, because we have all these coaches, so I didn't do much in school. So went on to be a ski bum for a few years, got that out of my system. Then about the time we had our first kids, I went to learn to fly helicopters in Butte. Became a helicopter pilot. I did heavy lift logging and firefighting until I realized that was a really dumb thing to do with small kids. So I quit doing that after 7 years and went into facilities management at MSU, then became facilities director for Belgrade schools. And then because we were building so many schools, I was on the school board for Montfortin. Side note comment, I had to go get Alana's dad's blessing to be on the school board at Montfortin back then. I was on the school board. We had done 2 big capital projects to build schools there. I was at Belgrade. We had on the docket to build 3 more schools there and purchase property, and I knew that Bozeman School District down the valley too was going to be siting new schools. And in the process of the capital planning and land purchases and understanding how much activity in the valley is driven by where we were siting schools, I started to look into how do we site these schools. Is there a plan for, I'm going to be driving a lot of circulation, a lot of traffic, a lot of public safety concerns by putting a school with 1,000 middle school kids in a new location that we hadn't contemplated before, and found out that that was the job of the county commission. So I started asking around about that to the point where people started pointing at me and saying, maybe you should go run for county commissioner. So I was not betting on myself the first time I ran for county commission, but here I am 6 years later.
Do you want to give us an interaction you had?
Yeah, right. I had a lot of really interesting interactions 6 years ago as well, but this year the thing fresh in my mind was I had a really great experience this last week. We had a forum for the League of Women Voters put on a forum at the Bozeman Public Library. So I had an hour that was going to be just for the county commission. And they had mixed up some emails and didn't know that my opponent wasn't going to come. He had notified them he wasn't coming, but they didn't know. So we set it all up, the timer there, we have the moderator there, we have the host, and they're ready to go, and time's up. And they asked me how long I could wait, and I said, oh, I can stay here all night. So because of their charter, they can't have an open seat debate. They can't host an event like that. So I said, hey, how about this? How about you guys just close the event and we'll just pretend I'm your county commissioner and I'm here for a public forum. You can ask me whatever you want. So we had this room full, and I made sure everybody asked a question about county government, just because I'm full of it and I like talking about our county government. So I had the best hour ever. We could have gone 2 hours, but they had another event after us. But that was probably the best use of the time I've had in the last few weeks for just a room full of engaged people that honestly didn't know that that was what they were going to be doing for the evening, and were just had free-form discussion about asking about just anything that they had concerns about Gallatin County, what they wondered about county government, what they wondered about local government. We had a lot of really interesting questions that had nothing to do with county government, but when you're around the block enough times as a county commissioner, you kind of understand a little bit of everything that's going on, so I was able to point people in the right directions for answers for things that didn't even have to do with us.
All right, thank you, Scott. Your time is up.
Yeah, don't go get any ideas.
No, so thank you. So part of your job, Scott, as Gallatin County Commissioner has been to assess Big Sky's governmental structure. How would another term as a commissioner help you improve its shortcomings? Wow, Joe, just put it out there.
Yeah, so I really liked when I read that question that you sent to me. I felt kind of fun at first because I was thinking, sure, I know a lot about your government and the way that it works up here, but it isn't really my job to assess your government. I am your government. I'm kind of most of what you have, other than what an analogy I always used to talk with Steve Johnson about was that in my first couple of years here, what it started to look like was a lot of community organizations, nonprofits, districts, all gathered together in a trench coat trying to be a city. I think I've come to know pretty much everyone, dare I say, I know everyone running all those organizations, and I don't mean it disparagingly at all. I think all of them realize that there's a better way to do this. It's not really the most efficient way to be providing all these services. Now, the community has identified all the things that they want and need, and we've had just a never-ending line of people stepping up to fill that need of all those different community organizations it takes to stand in the absence of a city. Being from Four Corners was kind of why I ran for county commissioner as well. Four Corners doesn't have a government. It's the 14th largest city in Montana. It's right between Livingston and Lewistown. It's the same size as Laurel, and it doesn't have any government. The county commission is its government. It's very much the same up here. You have a lot more going on here than Four Corners does.
All right, thank you very much. Oh, absolutely, yeah, it's a full trench coat. We touched earlier on the housing crisis that we're all facing in our area and beyond. At this point, you've heard, I'm sure, ideas from all over the spectrum when it comes to solving that crisis. What is your current approach, and has that approach changed based on ideas that have been presented to you?
Yeah, that's a great question also. The approach to the way a county government can be or have any effect in a subject matter like this, there's a lot of complicated subject matters, but I'm sure the community agrees that there is a pretty large problem with affordable housing. How do we build more housing? How do we incentivize the type of products that we need? We still have pretty strict boundaries as county government and land use. So the way that to the greatest extent possible that have been able to affect how little we actually can affect affordable housing is to, in the event that we do development review, to start to express and telegraph to the public and to developers and to especially our community organizations that we trust that we are more available to this discussion of density. That's just, there's a little bit of leeway within our land use documents. There's a lot that can be done with encouragement of people in community organizations that are putting forth plans that have affordable housing in them, and just telegraphing that we're available for that conversation. You have a pretty favorable year at the county commission today, and have had for quite a few years now. When it comes to being able to change the land use documents that regulate all of your land use, we're also trying to telegraph that we're available to that too. If there are discussions about rezoning, or if there are discussions about places where Maybe years ago, the community didn't know that maybe that was an appropriate place for this type of use. I think we've telegraphed pretty well to our community partners that just recently we did, I think that was brought up on the last panel up here, that we helped rezone a piece of property that will be much better used as community housing. So outside of that, outside of our land use regulation, which is the primary job of our shop, is land use, we've been willing to stretch pretty much every other partnership we have and every other asset that we have. So pretty commonly in the community, what we go through over and over is this survey of available resources. What land do employers have? What land does your local government have? And we were one of the first of those big community partners to identify, when our property was identified as being a community asset that could possibly have affordable housing on it, we decided to do it. We're kind of first through the breach with that. It's a little difficult. And maybe I'll be the first to admit when we get done, we'll look back and say, well, we probably didn't do that perfectly with now what we've learned, but somebody had to go do it. So we're able to fit, over 100 new housing units on a piece of property that we've had that you have owned as county citizens for a really long time. That will help inform a lot of our partners. I think that a couple of our cities are looking to us to be the first through that breach and start to learn from them about how to do projects like this.
Outstanding. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Scott,
guys.
Duke, appreciate that. We'll go ahead and get our Gallatin County Government Study Commission candidates up. Now Ralph did not provide a statement. We didn't get anything.
Got it.
I'm sorry.
It's fine, Joe.
And AI has given us this order. We're going to start with Ted, then Jackie, Donald, Andrew, Jeff. So I don't know if you want to try to organize yourselves that way.
Or if you want to switch out, I'm fine with that too. Listen.
Right? ChatGPT, thank you very much. All right, so starting with Ted, please introduce yourself. And for the final minute or so, I would love for you to give a description of the most memorable interaction you've had while campaigning.
Well, good evening, everybody, and thank you so much for coming out. My name is Ted Barkley. I am not a native Montanan, just keep that out of the way. I have a long history in local government and a passion for local government. I have served as a city manager in Colorado and Washington, and most recently Montana. I was the city manager of Belgrade when we first started our little growth spurt that you might have noticed that we had down there. It's a lot like the one you had up here. The first year that I was there, we issued 4 single-family building permits and no multifamily building permits. The last 2 years I was there, it was about 450 one year and about 470 the next year, and about 30 multifamily complexes. So I'm along for the ride. I retired in 2021. I didn't just manage the city of Belgrade, though. I got involved at the state level in several local government related things. I served as on the board of directors for the Montana League of Cities and Towns, which is an advocacy organization for local government, and delves into a lot of governance issues related to local government. I also served as chair of the board for the Montana Municipal Interlocal Agency, which offers risk management services to and provides risk management services to every incorporated town in Montana. So I got to meet a lot of people, learn a lot about governance in Montana. Montana is very special, as we all know, in so many ways, but one of them is the way local government is organized and the choices that we have as we choose how to govern ourselves. So I can't say that I have a very extensive campaign trail. A lot of it has to do with talking to friends and people in our neighborhood and things like that. But the most interesting thing, I guess I would note, is that first of all, 2/3 of the discussion is just explaining what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, and why these positions exist in the first place. But the most amazing thing I had happen was talking to a neighbor who I've known for 10 years, who looked at me and just said, "So who are you voting for president?" And I looked at him, he says, "I don't know how to decide who to vote for on this. I'm just going to ask people who they voted for president, and that's how I'm going to decide."
Oops.
There you go.
You
Didn't
know?
go any deeper than that.
All right, Jackie
And now
Haynes.
it's Jack.
All right, my name is Jackie Haynes. I'm going to actually switch it up and start with the most interesting thing. I spoke with a legislator who said to me that local government is effective 80% of the time, state government is effective 50% of the time, and the federal government is effective 20% of the time. And I thought that was funny. It was a quote that really stuck with me, and it's part of why I'm doing this, is because in my background, my work experience is in economic development. I worked at HRDC for 5 years and did a lot of different programming there and ran several different state funded programs. And so I have experience working with the state, and then am now working at the Resort Tax District, and we work really closely with our county commissioners on both sides. And so in all of that experience, I've really seen how important local government is in our lives, and how much of an impact it has on us. And so part of why I wanted to do this was because I believe in the power of local government. I believe in how important it is for it to be effective. I think local government is the best form of government that we have because it's all accessible to each of us. I've seen individuals walk into a room and change minds and change how policy is made, and just by sharing their experience. And so I think that that's really important. A little bit more about my background. I have been in Bozeman since 2005. I've been in Montana since 1998. I'm a 10th generation American, since we talk all the time about how we're generationally connected to Montana. Anyways, and so my background's in economics, and so my education and my work has all lent itself to understanding the systems that impact our lives. And this is the Montana is the only state in the nation that does this local government review. And we do it once every 10 years. And it's an opportunity to be able to look at our government, look at how the systems are serving us, and how effective they are. And so I'm really eager and excited to study the local government, how the county is organized, what's working for us and what's not, and be able to contribute all of my knowledge to it.
Outstanding. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. Now on to Donald. Do you want me to repeat the question, or do you?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, so now I just panicked. Okay, good. Please introduce yourself. Introduce yourself, and then in the final minute, have a description of the most memorable or interesting interaction that you've had while campaigning, or while not campaigning. It's up to you.
All right, great. Thank you very much for having us up here tonight. So my name is Don Seifert, born and raised in North Montana, a diversified family farm up there. Came to Bozeman in 1969 to go to the university, and like everybody else, I'm still there. My wife and I were married in 1973, and in the years since then, I've worked in the agricultural industry. I still do own a manufacturing, ruminant mineral livestock manufacturing business, where I serve Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, and some provinces in Canada. I got involved with local government in probably 2006 when I started to complain about a subdivision that was going in next door to us, and I went to the county commission and was there a couple of times, and finally Commissioner Burdock, about the third time I was there, handed me an application for the planning board and said, "Why don't you get involved?" And so I did, and I was appointed to the planning board. And in those preceding years after that, I was on the Galvin County Planning Board, the Board of Adjustments, and the Capital Improvement District programs. Anyway, and I also was chaired the Gravel Pit Task Force back in the day, if some of you guys maybe remember that issue too. So then I saw what the commissioners do, and I thought, heck, I can do that. And so I decided to run for commissioner in 2014. And my district was the southern half of the county, West Yellowstone, Bozeman, Four Corners, and that area. So I was elected in 2014, began to serve in 2015. I did a lot of work with the folks up here at Big Sky. You were in a period of growth up here. We did some interesting programs as far as land use. As Scott mentioned, this is a hotbed for land use. And we worked real hard on a lot of projects. We got the Tiger Grant going in up here as well. And so we've done a lot of things in here, as well as in West Yellowstone. We began to facilitate some of that work that, as Jerry mentioned, you know, when they purchased the Forest Service ground on the west side of the city there, we were involved with that too. So that's been my career in government. I retired in 2020, and my wife and I have enjoyed retirement since then. But I saw this come through, the ability to help refine the government, and I thought this is something that I need to do. I need to put my stuff to work and help the citizens of the county, see if we can come up with some better ways.
Thank you, Don. Andrew?
Well, I'd also like to thank everybody for this opportunity. I'll start with what I think is one of the more interesting or noteworthy experiences I've had talking to people, and that's the level of enthusiasm and involvement and engagement that people have about this process. This study commission process is really unique to Montana. And, it's obvious for those of you who've stuck around here for a period of time tonight that it's of interest to you up here in Big Sky too. But I would just say by way of background, I'm a 37-year resident of Gallatin County. Have lived in the same house just outside of the city of Bozeman since 1987. I had a 31-year career as a city planner and county planner in Big Timber and Sweetgrass County, Livingston and Park County. Did a stint up in Kalispell and the Flathead Valley, and then got a dream job of being director of planning for the Bozeman City County Planning Office back in '87. And that morphed into the Bozeman City Office of Community Development, which I headed up for 22 years, and oversaw an awful lot of growth development in that period of time. I like to say that during my tenure as planning director in Bozeman, we grew 2 additional Livingstons in terms of population and probably property assessment, and number of housing units, et cetera. So yeah, that's background. Currently I serve on 3 county boards, you might say. I'm a member of the Open Lands Board, which makes recommendations, hears proposals and makes recommendations about the use of the county's open space bond or levy money. I'm also on the Consolidated Board of Adjustment, which hears applications for variances and conditional use permits for, I think we have 22 different zoning districts in Gallatin County at this time. And then I'm also a trustee on the Storyville Fire District. So overall, my experience in local government is extensive, it's ongoing. I retired from local government service a while back, had a 9-year encore career as an adjunct instructor at the university, which I thoroughly enjoyed, sharing my knowledge of local government and city planning issues with students from architecture and engineering and social sciences. So anyway, that's a little bit about me, and happy to be here, and thank you once again.
Thank you. That is Andrew Epple and
Thank you, Andrew.
Jeff Kraus.
Go ahead and clap. Go ahead. Thank you very much. My name is Jeff Kraus. I really appreciate the chance to come up here. It has been a while since I've done something in an official capacity for Big Sky. I came to Montana in 1975, driving a friend of mine out here to go to Montana State University, and I got a job on the railroad and stayed. And I worked in Laurel, I worked in Livingston, I worked in Butte, and I worked in Missoula. And but unfortunately, the Burlington Northern withdrew from the southern route, the Northern Pacific route, and that was a big contributor to the depression that we all went through in the 80s up in Bozeman. And I lost my job. I went back to school. There were limited options. You either went to the four-year college or you went somewhere else to go to 2-year or whatever. I went to the four-year college, got a degree in accounting, became a CPA, and became a blue-collar guy trapped in a white-collar world. I went to work for Gallatin County after some time working for a big 8 accounting firm, and I worked in the treasurer's office as an accountant, as the chief deputy treasurer, and then ultimately as the treasurer assessor, where I was also the chair of, I think, 15 zoning districts, not all county zoning districts I was participating in, but I was the chair of roughly 15 zoning districts, including this one where Joe Sable trained me well. I got to know every school clerk, first school clerk, became a friend of mine, and then I learned unfortunately due to a tragedy, learned a new over school clerk. I knew the city clerks, and so I knew the fire service area people, I knew, and just on and on. And I got to know the nature of Gallatin County pretty well. I have 30 years in local government, including 16 years on the Bozeman City Commission, 3 terms as mayor, and then 3.5 years as a regent on the Montana University System Board of Regents. And I'm going to tell you one little story. It is not about knocking doors. Bill Murdoch and I went down to West Yellowstone one wintry February morning, and we were passing the 9-quarter circle ranch, and there was something over on the side of the road, and it turned out we circled around to see what it was, and it was a wolf. I knew it was a wolf because it had a giant radio collar around its neck. And Murdoch says, hey, let's put it in the back of the car and we'll take it to West Yellowstone. And I said, well, what if it wakes up and doesn't want to go to West Yellowstone? And then I said, and besides that, they track those things, and what are they going to think if it's going 15.5 miles an hour down 191? We're going to get arrested. And so we left it there. Unfortunately, someone stole it, but we were going down at 6 a.m. on a wintry morning down to West Yellowstone and I was there to chair the zoning commission to make decisions about the zoning commission. I'll talk about other things when we get to the third question, but it is a privilege to be here again after all these years and see you all again.
Thank you very much, Jeff. And before I let Michelle ask the next question, the interest of not going terribly over time, I may shorten your answers to 2 minutes moving forward. Is that all right with you guys? All right, perfect.
30 seconds.
No.
Oh, sorry. It was my first pitch, and we somehow agreed on the 2 minutes.
We compromised.
Okay.
My original thought.
So that's what marriage is all about. 18 years, guys. Ted Barkley, what preconceived beliefs do you bring with you as you embark on this process, and how open are you to changing those beliefs as new information is presented?
Well, when I first read that question, I thought to myself, I don't have any preconceived ideas. I'm going to come in here with a blank slate, and we're going to just listen and move ahead. But it turns out I do have a lot of preconceived ideas. And most of them really have to do with values related to local government and local government structures. I think we need to be accountable. We need to be able to recommend a structure that is accountable, that's efficient, that's effective, and you could probably fill in most of those things, but also very importantly is accessible, and not just for the people that are in the little ring around the government, the official government structure itself, but for everybody in the county, which would build in some things for the commission, for example, involving discussions on site with the population centers, not just the cities and towns, but the unincorporated areas as well. I hear a lot, people say, you know, you should run government like a business. And it's a good discussion because you don't probably really want to run like a business. And one of the differences is the difference of values, equity and access versus efficiency, for example. It's good to be efficient. It's always good to be efficient, but it's more important that everybody has a chance to participate and be heard and contribute in the ways that are important to have a responsive unit of government that we want Gallatin County to be.
Thank you, Ted. And next we have Jackie. Did you want me to repeat the question? I totally can.
No, I'm good.
Okay, good.
So Ted now made it so I can't say that I don't have preconceived notions. No, but I think it's important to note that this is a nonpartisan commission. So the commission isn't making policy. So I think that that alone helps protect a little bit against any preconceived notions that you come in with, because we're looking at the systems and how systems function and how the systems work. And so I'm not going in with a lot of preconceived notions, especially related to like policy and how things should be. It's more evaluating how the systems are working or not. And so with that, I think that there's a few things that I'd like to look at. The first is communication. I think it's really important that the commission first starts by studying and interviewing as many people as we can interview and understand what's working and what's not working, both at the county staff level, but also then the community-wide. I think collaboration is really important. We have to be working across lots of different organizations with lots of different people with lots of different departments, and so that is important. And then lastly, I think that the education is also really important. So in my world, as I talk to my friends and my community members, I realize how much people don't understand about what the role of the local government is, what they can do versus the state versus the feds. And so I think that this role in the study commission is going to be very important to be educating the public on what we learn and what systems are going to serve them better. Any recommendation this commission makes is going to be voter approved. And so that education piece becomes really important in that process.
Thank you so much. No, Joe, I've got the thank yous, okay. It's getting late. All right, Don, what are your preconceived or not preconceived notions?
First of all, my preconceived notion is that this is a wonderful opportunity. I mean, it's been stated, you know, Montana is the only one where we get to review this. And it's not government officials get to review themselves. It's you, the people, we the people, that get to review how our government is serving us. And really, that's the essence of government, is providing essential services to the people and the residents of the county. And not only the residents, the folks that are traveling through. You know, it's been said that the Gallatin County at any particular time has got 20% more people in it than our regular population due to tourists, Aunt Martha being here for the week or whatever. So that's my notion, is that we need to respect what the people want, and how can we better deliver those services? And what are the pinch points? And how can we take those pinch points where we're not delivering services as well as we can, and alleviate those, and make our government more transparent and more responsive? But probably most important is, how do we set up a government that can endure? You know, we're basically working with the government that we were handed in the Constitution of 1889. Been a few changes, but how do we make a government, a local government, that will continue to serve the people as the dynamics, as the diversity of this county change over the next 20 years? And it has to be in a form that will withstand those changes and grow with those changes, and to make sure that we continue to provide those services that are so essential. Best government is the government that's closest to the people. And that's the government we need to look for.
Joe, would you like to say thank you?
Thank you.
Okay, got it. Thank you, Don. Andrew, would you like to, you want me to repeat the question, or are you pretty good by now?
I'm pretty good
Okay,
with the
great.
question, I think. Very open-minded, no preconceived notions, as has already been mentioned, really eager to interview people, hold public forums, talk to others who are involved in local government in similar kinds of communities in the region, to find out if there are ways that Gallatin County might improve on the delivery of services. Are there particular structural changes that might be appropriate? I will say, in terms of being a little more specific than I've heard so far tonight, that when I got here in 1987, Gallatin County had about 60,000 people. We had 3 county commissioners. I think now we are pushing 120,000 people. We still have 3 county commissioners. Very interested in looking at the prospects of should the size of the commission be increased a little bit. Would we get a little more representation that way? Always interested in transparency and efficiency. Really, I view tax dollars that people pay toward the county as a scarce resource. And from an economic standpoint, I'm always interested in how scarce resources are allocated, and wanting to make sure they're allocated in the most efficient and appropriate manner possible. And I think that's something that the commission might be able to address and help citizens of the county receive that kind of efficient and transparent public service. And other than that, I feel that the result of the commission's effort up here, if we're elected, those of us who are eventually, that could be a conclusion that the current form of government and the current size of government and the structure and organization of government is appropriate, and that it's not necessary or desirable to recommend changes. So I hold that out as a possibility as well. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Andrew. All right, on to you, Jeff.
So I guess the first thing I would echo is Andy, which is if you don't want change, we won't make change. The second preconceived notion I have is I think that we are in danger of getting swallowed by Bozeman, the rural areas, the southern part, West Yellowstone, Big Sky, everything to the west, everything to the north. The power will begin to concentrate in the population center. And the way we elect representatives now, even though they're nominated by district, they are voted on at large, and the population district can dominate that form of government. So I think in order to keep Gallatin County's government accountable and representative of the whole county, we need to take a look at that very carefully. The second thing I would say is that I was a row officer. I was the elected county treasurer, assessor, and I was the friendly face that you depended on to provide services to you, and also to interpret the complicated state regulations in your favor. And I took that job very seriously. One little thing I'd say is I found a way to go to West Yellowstone in the middle of winter when everything got, in January, when everything got, in those days, registered in motor vehicle. I was able to take motor vehicle to West Yellowstone. We went down there with Jerry's crew. One time they dragged a snowmobile fatality through the motor vehicle line. But we spent 2 or 3 days down there every year and got everybody registered. You didn't have to drive from West Yellowstone down to Bozeman and then back because you didn't get it notarized. You got it done. The second thing I would say is I stood up to a very large corporation who was buying all the receivables, taxes receivables. And if you pay attention now, we're just getting into court cases where people are not losing their houses to those large corporations because the courts have stepped in. I stepped in at a time when other counties were factoring their receivables and giving that responsibility away.
Thank you so much, Jeff. And we're going to bring it home with our final question of the evening. The event is called Vote Big Sky. So, of course, this one, let's talk about Big Sky. What experience do you have with Big Sky in particular, and how do you plan to effectively represent Big Sky's interests as a new government study commissioner? I understand your job is not to advocate for Big Sky, but you got to keep the community in mind as you do your job. But I'll let you start, Ted.
So first of all, I guess I have to be honest and say I don't have a long history with Big Sky. I live down in Bozeman, and my main role with Big Sky has been taking everybody that comes to visit me, because I live in Bozeman, to Big Sky and to West, and I've gotten to know the sort of physical layout of the services and all that kind of stuff. But I also have gotten to know several people in leadership in Big Sky, and I also have significant experience in managing and developing the long-term plans for tourism districts, both in Washington and in Colorado. And so there is some affinity there, being able to identify sort of the way things are laid out, even though I could not claim a personal relationship with a lot of people here and deep knowledge of the local issues here. That's just who I am. That having been said, I have also done a number of regional planning efforts, and I am very well aware of the importance and the critical nature of engaging all of the communities of interest, including Big Sky, in the efforts. Big Sky has a certain view and certain needs. Manhattan has a certain view and certain needs. Three Forks does, Belgrade does, and there's a whole bunch of population centers, Churchill, Four Corners, Gallatin Gateway, that are not incorporated. They all have. They have their own specific views on what they need and how things should be operated. The only way to do that is to be there during the process, I believe, not only in meetings like this one, but also being able to be in touch electronically and to make sure that the opportunity is there for all voices to be heard. One thing that is clear as a bell to me, one thing that is clear as a bell to me is that, Bozeman may be the gorilla, it's not representative of the county as a whole.
Thank you very much, Ted Barkley. All right, Jackie Haynes, same question, talk about Big Sky.
Well, I have been working very closely with Big Sky for the last 4 years. Some of you might have heard me ramble on about the data of Big Sky. I've spent a lot of time working to understand how important Big Sky is to our region. I currently work at the resort tax, and we are actively working on various infrastructure projects for Big Sky. And in my past role, I ran a nonprofit doing economic development across the county. And one thing I really came to understand was how important the economic engine of Big Sky is, and how outsized the economic power of Big Sky is to its voice in local government. And so I really deeply understand that struggle, and I will have the ability to sit on the commission and advocate for places that don't have a large voice in their county government. And so, I think that is, I'm working up here every day. I understand the issues. I'm talking with the community, and so I feel that I can represent Big Sky well on the commission.
Thank you very much, Jackie Haynes. All right, on to Donald Seifert.
I feel that I can represent the Big Sky community and not only Big Sky, but the entire Gallatin Canyon and West Yellowstone fairly well. I was when I was on the volunteer boards, the Board of Adjustments, Planning Board, that type of thing. I had a hands-on experience with the growth and the development up here. As a commissioner, We not only did land use, and I will say that I probably voted against some stuff that wasn't popular up here, but I would always hope that the project that came back was a better project than the one that was submitted. So, but again, I've had a lot of experience with Big Sky, not only land use, but with the Water and Sewer District, the parks. I was instrumental in getting the open space land fund from a bond to a levy, and I'm beginning to believe that Big Sky has seen a lot of that money being used up here in some of your parks, some of your trails, and some of that stuff up here. So I feel that I've got a good relationship. You were with Big Sky in the Canyon and West. You folks were in the district that I represented, and I feel that I did a good job representing you there. And I feel that I can continue to do that job and represent you and hear your voice. It's important that we have the conversation, and I feel that we've got relationships and we can have that conversation with this community and form a stronger community up here with relation to local government.
Thank you, Donald Seifert. And now, Andrew Apple.
Well, thanks again. And does skiing off Lone Peak with friends and family many times over the years count as Big Sky?
Yes.
Anyway, I've loved recreating up here with friends and family at the ski hill, backpacked and hiked extensively throughout the entire area. And I do think that has helped me to come to know what Big Sky is all about. From a more practical standpoint, local government commission standpoint, I do serve on the Open Lands Board, and as Don just alluded to, we have studied and recommended a number of projects for approval using the open space bond money previously and the open space levy money that's available to do parks improvements for the Big Sky Owners Association. A couple that come to mind are the rehabilitation of the creek and detention pond area by the golf course that we just recommended approval this year. The facilities building for the park equipment for the district, and in coming up and meeting with some key people on those projects and visiting the sites, I've certainly gotten to know Big Sky better than I did before. And other than that, I just know that it's a treasure for the area and the economy of the region, and needs to be fostered. One aspect, just very quickly, is this unique situation where the mountain village, as I understand it, is essentially in Madison County, and the meadow and everything down here is in Gallen County. One thing I'd like to look at as a study commissioner would be if the current form of government for Gallen County facilitates interaction and cooperation and collaboration between the counties in terms of delivering services up here. And maybe that we're doing that super well right now, but I'd be interested in studying that and making sure that we're getting services delivered up here to both residents of Madison and Gallen County.
Outstanding. Thank you very much, Andrew Apple. All right, Jeff Kraus.
Well, thank you. And thank you again for having us and sticking around and listening. I know the issues have changed over the years, but I'm pretty sure I remember some of the issues from back in the day. And as I said, I knew many of the people here. I wrote articles for Kevin's Lone Peak Lookout. I always have to say it, take some time and say that correctly. And I got to know many people up here. I spent time up here. We talked about land use issues. As I said, I was chair of the Big Sky zoning district, like all the other zoning districts. And one of the big decisions we made was to approve this 5-section master plan, which gave 3 sections to the wildlife corridor and 2, which I think we're sitting in right now. So this whole development here was started off with a group of people, and I, suffered the gentle strokes of Joe Sable and listened to the people that developed this. So I did vote in approval of this particular development, and here we sit, and it looks pretty good from where I'm looking. I think we bring it to you, the government to you. I talked about bringing it to West Yellowstone. I think we have to do that. That's how we represent. We listen to you. I have 30 years in local government, many of which were listening to people and trying to make decisions and interpret what they had to say in a way that could create documents and make decisions about delivering local government services. I've done that for so many years for the city as mayor and commissioner, as a member of the Board of Regents for the Montana University system as a whole, and I have 13 seconds to talk about the fact that we have a Gallatin College in Bozeman, because when I joined, it was 26 degree-seeking students in 2006. It's over 800 or 900 now. And thanks to Waded Cruzado and this crusty old guy sitting here in front of you, we beat the stuffing out of everybody in the face of no one wanting that, no one in Montana wanting that. And we have a 2-year college that provides many opportunities for the people of Big Sky and the people of Gallatin and the surrounding counties.
We
and
thank you
Madison
for that.
County.
Thank you so much,
Thank you,
Jeff
guys.
Kraus. I am out of
Round of
questions.
applause for all of our candidates. Joe just said, do you want to say goodbye? It's like I was talking to a toddler. Yes, I would like to say goodbye to, no, thank you guys so much for your time this evening. Thank you to everybody at home watching. Vote November 15th. Get out and vote. 5th. Why am I saying 5th? I'm tired, you guys. Don't vote on the 15th. Actually vote on the 5th. Anyway, yes, vote on November 5th. Thank you for your time. You guys go home, spend some time with your families, your dogs, all the things. Dress up.
Talk to these people.
Talk to them on the way out. If you have some extra questions, they're here for you.